Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
I don't think that you look at this team and say that they have one of those glaring weaknesses like we were talking about. But I do think there are some, big decisions to be made going forward in terms of forecasting out into the future. And I'm sure you guys have been talking a lot about it with Kirk. Just got to figure out what you want to do with Kirk going forward. And I've been joking around that Kevin, coming from the Shanahan tree, you have to pledge your allegiance to Kirk Cousins. It's part of the deal. You do not get your membership card unless you pledge your allegiance to Kirk Cousins. So we'll see how that goes forward.
It's kind of creepy.
It is kind of creepy.
I pledge my allegiance to Kirk Cousins.
To the Kirk and the one Cousins of America.
The cult
indivisible.
With checkdowns for all.
The cult of Cousins, boys. The cult of Cousins.
Oh, man. All right. It's good to be back. Whether you guys want the Vikings Twitter CEO back or not, he is back here. And we're also celebrating Declan Goff as the CBO of Vikings Twitter. That's right. The chief clickbait officer. He has one goal: make you click on Purple Daily episodes by using random big bold words, and whether we pay it off or not, well, we get to decide. This is Purple Daily. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. That's our mission statement on the show, and it's presented by Surly Brewing Company and also TCL, which has a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. And I think we should put a disclaimer on the beginning of this episode.
Reckless speculation.
We will be recklessly speculating about the Vikings quarterback situation.
Not again.
Reckless speculation.
No. I can play the disclaimer quick.
In the Minnesota sports media scene, fans are represented by two different yet equally important groups. The homers who affiliate with positivity and don't like to have fun, and the realists who prosecute the offenders and recklessly speculate. These are their ideas. There you go.
All right. Are you mentally prepared for this, Judd?
I'm getting myself in the right spot. Full disclosure, right now, I feel fragile.
Okay. All right.
I feel fragile. So I've got to get myself into the right mindset, but I'm going to work on that right now.
Okay, you sound like the Minnesota Wild right now.
I am just very fragile.
So according to bookies.com, the most likely replacement for Kirk Cousins if the Vikings move on from him is Russell Wilson at plus 550. All right, here are the odds right now for Vikings quarterback in 2022 according to bookies.com. And if you're wondering, what is bookies.com? So they are a pretty massive website. It looks like they show up and they're creating a lot of content. Like they're clearly looking to drum up interest. So, but they provide betting tips, unrivaled odds comparison tools, and the latest betting news. Also, independent reviews of the top legal, licensed, and regulated sports books with exclusive bonuses to help people wager. So I don't know. They have a pretty massive website with all sorts of tools and information, and they are saying that the odds for the Vikings quarterback in 2022 start with Kirk Cousins, odds-on favorite among all the options, at
Makes
minus
sense.
400.
Yep.
Because it'll take many steps to move into one of these other options. Russell Wilson is second on this list at plus 550. Derek Carr is plus 700. We'll get back to some of these. Baker Mayfield is a plus 950. That one makes sense just because it would be an easy swap. Vikings would save some cap space. They could evaluate Baker for a year, and Cleveland could get the upgrade that they've been looking for. Right. Jimmy Garoppolo, there's a big jump then to Jimmy Garoppolo at plus 3,000. Any rookie quarterback at plus 3,800, and then poor Kellen Mond at plus 4,000. Very unlikely that Kellen Mond would be the starting quarterback. So let's just start with it. Russell Wilson. What do you make of this?
Really interesting. I'd love to know why or how they landed on that in particular, that name, that player. To go back to my statement earlier today on Mackey and Judd, I do believe that once the Aaron Rodgers conundrum is solved with him either staying with the Packers or being moved, that the rest of this will unclog itself and that guys like Russ will start to move, or at least final decisions will be made. But here's where I land at. I guess I can get my head around Russell Wilson being tagged to the Vikings. In that sense, it does appear that the owners want to win, correct? And if the Kirk thing would fall apart and Kirk would be moved, not because Kirk can't play, but because of the contract. So like everything in reality, no matter how any of us feel about Kirk, good or bad, Kirk Cousins' future here is tied to his contract demands and the potential of somebody saying, we can't do that and we're going to have to look, because you don't have a no trade now, to move you. That being said, if the Wilfs say, okay, you could trade Kirk, but we still expect great things, well, you sure as hell can't start Mond or a young quarterback who is an unknown. So if you're going with that, it would make some sense. And I'm not advocating for this. I'm trying to put the pieces of the reckless speculation puzzle together.
You're not advocating for the Vikings to trade for Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson, yeah. That would not be...
I want to be clear. I am.
I know you are.
So
I knew
that
you
would be
be
awesome if this happened.
I am not advocating for that to be the end game, but I do believe that when you're putting together, trying to figure out the direction that the Vikings are going for 2022 and the possibilities, that Russell Wilson would be here because, one, Kirk's contract demands are such that the Vikings simply don't think it's responsible to fulfill them, and two, they would still be following through the ownership mandate of, okay, that's cool, but we want to win. That's what I make of it.
One other interesting thing to note here, because I'm trying to figure out, so how much is this? How much of this is just sort of, completely reckless speculation versus when you see stuff pop up on odds websites, there's usually information behind it. So the guy that wrote this article, or the guy that put these odds out, his name is Adam Thompson, and he is an odds maker and handicapper at bookies. So this is his life. His life is handicapping and odds making, right? He posted a similar article on bookies.com on February 22nd. Russell Wilson trade odds. And here are the teams, right? So Adam Thompson, this is literally 2 weeks ago. And he had 10 teams listed here, including the Seahawks at minus 150. Broncos, Steelers, Packers, Saints, Dolphins, Eagles, Buccaneers, Raiders, Commanders. He did not have the Vikings on this list 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Now he has the Vikings as we haven't seen it from the Seahawks perspective, but he has the Vikings and Russell Wilson as a very likely possibility if the Vikings move on. So did Adam obtain some information in the last couple weeks? Did someone from bookies.com? I mean, there's this underground of sort of insider trading, right, when it comes to... Now, can you actually place a bet on this? I don't think so. I think these are just sort of for content purposes. But I will say this about Russell Wilson. He's 33 years old. He has 2 years left in his contract. He has cap hits of $37 and $40 million the next 2 years, which is the 6th and 5th highest cap hits. He plans to play for a long time. So I'm sure he would be willing to discuss some sort of long-term contract that takes him into his late 30s. And he's the type of dude that's obsessed with his physique, conditioning. He's got a lot more Tom Brady in him than, like Ben Roethlisberger was just kind of...
What's wrong with Ben Roethlisberger?
Turned into a blimp the last 3 years.
Back off, Ben.
I think Russ wants to play until he's really old, and Russ cares more about winning Super Bowls than he does about winning negotiations. And there's a story. Somebody wrote a story about him in a press box booth or a luxury suite at the Super Bowl 2 years ago when Tom Brady, in his first year with the Buccaneers, went on and won that Super Bowl. And Russell Wilson was there in person watching and seething, according to reports, that my organization has turned into just a train wreck, and the offense is antiquated, and Pete Carroll is 70 and hard-headed, and that's when you started to hear about the list of 4 teams that he wanted to be traded to. He wants to win championships, and he would be, I think, more interested in playing ball contractually than Kirk Cousins has been throughout his career to this point, and based on the early reports on Kirk still wanting to play hardball with that contract. That's just the contract side, all right? Never mind the fact that Russell Wilson is levels better than Kirk Cousins as a player, as a late-game clutch quarterback, and as a leader and a guy that can bring people together and get people to rally around him. So ideally, would it be nice to find
a young quarterback of the future that you can have on a rookie scale contract for 5 years, like if Malik Willis was that guy, absolutely. But if there's an option to still pay a lot of money, but maybe have it be a little bit more flexible in terms of what you can do with that cap hit,
Right.
and upgrade to a Hall of Fame caliber guy who's motivated and wants to win more Super Bowls, this would be a no-brainer discussion behind the scenes for me. Like, I would be absolutely on the phone with the Seahawks, just feeling them out and seeing what's possible. What's the price tag?
I think your guy might have put together the odds also based on this. And it's not necessarily a direct tie-in or correlation between the Seahawks and Vikings. It's what was said at the Combine. In fact, that's a segment right there. What was said at the Combine?
You like that? You like
Football.
But Pete Carroll said specifically he gave the old Rick Spielman on Percy and Diggs treatment to Russ, which is we have no intention of trading Russ right now.
No intention.
Yeah, no
Yes.
intention, which means our intentions can change. Like we could go home to Seattle and say our intentions have changed. Meanwhile, don't forget at the Combine when Kwesi took the stage, he basically said we're exploring all options. All options are open, I believe. He said, we'll do what's best for the Vikings. Kirk will do what's best for Kirk. The point being is it's not too hard to draw some lines here if you're trying to mix and match potential teams of who is not exactly providing an assurance. Like we know, as crazy as he might drive his team, the Packers want Aaron Rodgers back in the worst way. Like there's no debate about that. It's debatable if he's going to be back, but that will be partially driven by the player. But like we know for a fact, Brian Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, LaFleur want Rodgers back. In the case of what we're seeing quotes from Seattle and the Vikings, there's a lot of murky ground there, right? So it makes a lot of sense to try and draw lines there. And that to me though goes back to if you think that the Wilfs are telling the truth, we want to win. And Kwesi's like, yeah, Kirk, all options being explored. Well, if you want to win, you're going to have a quarterback who is probably an improvement on Kirk, which makes at least trying to fit this all together, Russell Wilson, at least a possibility of some sort for the Vikings.
Dex, what does Russell Wilson do for you?
I mean, I love the idea of Wilson. I'm just curious on how this transpired. Because Judd's probably right. The Combine discussions maybe amplified this to a little bit of a degree. But just looking at the odds that you threw out there from him on who could be the Vikings starting quarterback, I would actually put Baker Mayfield's odds ahead of Russell Wilson's and Derek Carr's. I just think that trade just makes more sense.
It's cleaner
And-
because it's a one-team trade.
Yeah.
These other ones would have to be like almost like a three-team trade, right? You'd
Right, yeah,
find
it
someone
would-
for Kirk and then...
It gets way more complicated. And my God, poor Kellen Mond just being absolutely buried on this list at plus 4,000. I think probably says also what the organization projects as him, which is a little bit unfortunate because everyone knew he was a project going into it. But the fact there are 5 other quarterbacks ahead of him, including a rookie quarterback who isn't even on an NFL team yet, that has better odds than Kellen Mond, says, I think, even more an indictment on what they view Kellen Mond as a future quarterback for the Vikings. But with Russ, I mean, sign me up if you can make it happen, but I just don't know. I think it's too complicated to make that work.
And I think, Russell Wilson, just to go through, I can't believe I have to explain like the tale of the tape between Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins, but a lot of people look at Kirk's touchdowns to interceptions and look at the yardage. They're actually very similar, and the answer is no, they're not. If you start to dig into the stats and the result on their play to team success, Russell Wilson has been part of 6 top 10 scoring offenses in his NFL career, including 3 of the last 4 years where their offensive line has been a disaster. Their defense has not been good in like 7 years. So 6 top 10 scoring offenses led by Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins has been part of 1 with the Vikings in the last 4 years with some of the best weapons in the NFL. They also had exactly the 10th best scoring offense in 2015 in Washington, so 2 in his career. Russell Wilson, when given the keys to a ready-made car, has driven it to 2 Super Bowls, including 1 championship, 9 playoff wins, and they are 50 games above 500 in Seattle since he arrived in 2012. 50 games above 500. And yes, the great defense was a pretty major factor early on, right? The Legion of Boom defense for the first small handful of years. But two things. Number one, when he was given the keys to that car, he didn't miss the playoffs like Kirk did in 2018. He drove it across the finish line to a Super Bowl, and they came one play away from winning back-to-back Super Bowls. It's been 6 years since the Seahawks had a top 10 defense. It's been a long time since the Legion of Boom was propping up Russell Wilson. And so in those 6 years since they lost the Legion of Boom defense, Russell Wilson is 48-30 over that stretch with 3 trips to the playoffs. Cousins has had 2 top 10 defenses, one in 2018, one in 2019. When you take away his top 10 defenses, he is 7 games below 500. So relative to 500, there is a 25-game difference between Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins' teams when they don't have top 10 defenses. So I just for anyone that's trying to put Russell Wilson in the same sentence, and but he's highly paid too. Like, you need one of 2 things at quarterback to win a championship almost certainly the last 20 years when you look. You either need a really good young quarterback on a rookie scale contract so you can build a monster roster around that guy, or you need a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback that can be flexible contractually when it makes sense, like you saw with Tom Brady and like you saw with Patrick Mahomes, these past couple seasons. And Russell Wilson would fall into that second category. You're not going to pay $5 million for him anymore like they did at the beginning of the run. But if you got him signed to like a 5-year contract extension, could you be flexible in a couple of those years to move some cap hit around to build a roster around him? So I guess I'm like, the more I think about this, the more, if this is even remotely a possibility, I'm all in. I have an idea for what a trade would look like. But Judd, earlier in the show, you said that this is not something you would advise. And I'm wondering, the Vikings Twitter CEO here is wondering what you mean by that. What you wouldn't advise them having Russell Wilson be their quarterback? What are you talking about?
That's not my first option, no. I want them to, and I think I talked about this with Dex on the show last week when Dex did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Sitting in, co-hosting, really just top-notch.
Very Gus Farrat, NFC Player of the Week.
Very top-notch. Very top-notch. Anyway, I want them, my first option is to, in the next 2 years, I want them to identify and find their quarterback from the draft. That's what I want. That's my ideal. So my starting point is, because if you do that, you now set the wheels in motion for an extended period of time to make your life as easy as possible when it comes to building a team. Like to me, the main lesson from the whole Kirk thing is not that Kirk's a bad human being. It's not that Kirk's a bad guy. It's not that Kirk's a bad quarterback. And I don't want to debate quarterback wins and losses. I'm tired of that. My main takeaway is this. We have seen now what happens when you have to pay a guy and it strips away from the rest of your ability to build. Now, I will go back to defending the Kirk move in 2018. If Russell Wilson was going to join a team that I thought these guys are set to pop, like if I could go Kirk out, Russell Wilson in, pop time, I'm all in on Russ. But the reality is I want to give this team some time to take a breath and build, and you can still make the playoffs. But I believe that this is actually a question right now of going back to the drawing board a bit for construction. And construction includes tearing it down a little bit, not rebuilding, to create more cap room. And if you can get that quarterback, and I'll caution you because I feel the same way. I know we all are like, well, the Vikings can't, though. They never have. And that's not wrong. Rick Spielman couldn't find a quarterback, Judd. Why are you talking like this? Because the reality is you blew everybody out to bring in people that you trust can find the quarterback, which includes your coach now. I want to give them a chance there.
But don't you think if the ultimate goal here, and we say this every time we crack the mics on Purple Daily, the goal is to win a Super Bowl. 60 plus years, no Super Bowls.
Yes.
That if you're saying, okay, 3 more years of Kirk Cousins or go after Malik Willis or whoever's available, let's say in 2023, and you get 5 years of rookie scale contract there, build a roster, that's a no-brainer for me. Give me the young quarterback. Let me build around that guy. There's like 5 exceptions where I would go after an established, highly paid quarterback. And Russell Wilson is one of those 5 exceptions for me. I think even though you'd be paying him a lot of money, and even though the Seahawks have struggled to maintain a roster the last few years, paying him a lot of money, the Vikings have the youngest offensive player unit in the NFL. They have, I believe, the youngest starting offensive line in the NFL. They have a young, explosive, dynamic weapon in Justin Jefferson. And they drafted like 38 players over the previous 3 years. They actually have a pretty interesting crop of young players, some of which we didn't even get to see last year because Mike Zimmer had a vendetta against his boss because they didn't talk for 3 months, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I'm looking at this saying, okay, yes, the roster needs some tweaking and adjusting. You definitely need offensive line help still. You need a guard or a center or both. Mm-hmm. And your defense is aging, and so you're not just going to flip the switch and be great in 2022. But I'm looking at Russell Wilson not in a 2022 light only. I'm looking at Russell Wilson for the next 5 to 6 years because I think he's going to be effective and MVP caliber late into his 30s. So you bring him in, you compete this year. You're not tanking this year. He probably makes you a couple games better with all the things that we've already talked about. Mm-hmm. You bring in a guard in free agency. There's many available. And then you've got your window open in 2024, 2025 as well with a guy that's still only 34, 35 years old. And we can talk about what it would take to get him, but this is where, again, there's 5 exceptions for me, and he's one of them to the go get your young quarterback in the draft line of thinking. I'm all with you on that, unless Russell Wilson's available, in which case, okay, cool. Give me the sure thing. And let's figure out the contract and make it work in a way that helps the Vikings in the years that they're ready to pop.
If that's possible, yeah. If he comes in and says, I am the anti-Kirk as far as from a negotiating standpoint, I want to help you out.
He wants to win.
I'll give you a 5 year.
It's not about money with him in Seattle.
So if he comes in,
insiding here out in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay, and I love that. And if he comes in and tells me flat out, I want to win, I will make this work, that's a different ballgame. But I think we agree here. I think our first choice is this. If you can identify that quarterback and get that type of team control at that cheap price and develop this guy, which, by the way, O'Connell is here to do. This is his job. His job is to be the anti-Mike and to take a young piece of clay who is molded but not perfect and mold it into an absolute sculpture, okay? If O'Connell can do that, that's my first choice. But we agree there. So if Russ tells me, yeah, you know what, guys, I don't care about the cash. Let's work this out, and it's going to work out so that it's going to help you. I'm in. It's just not my first choice. So I'm not debating you and saying, oh, no.
No, I'm not arguing with you. You're anti-Russell Wilson. That's fine.
Not my first.
You can't hide it.
It's not my first choice. Is not. I'm trying to build a team here that I realize the error of my previous ways that I applauded back in 2018.
Real quick, if you asked Kevin O'Connell right now, okay, you can mold a young piece of clay in Malik Willis or whatever his favorite piece of clay is, or you can mold Russell Wilson, who wants to be molded. He is available to be molded. It's just that he's been stuck with old moldy Pete Carroll the last few years.
Now you're dumping on
and
Pete
an antiquated offensive system.
Evil Zim, evil Pete. Now we're just dumping on geriatric coaches.
He's 70.
I know
he's running the same offense.
God bless him.
From 15 years ago. I think Kevin O'Connell would say, yeah, give me Russell Wilson.
Okay.
I think I'll take Russell Wilson.
Yeah, you know what? If you could make this work. In fact, okay, what's the trade?
Okay.
Let's hear the trade.
Okay.
Let's move on. Our thoughts are out there. I want to hear the trade.
All right. I'll tell you the trade after we talk about our favorite underwear from Chill Boys and chillboys.com. All right. What's one word to describe how Chill Boys are making you feel here today on Purple Daily?
Perfection.
Reckless.
Wow.
Reckless.
Wow.
Championship caliber. It's hyphenated. It's one hyphenated word. Championship.
You keep
caliber.
Cheating the system, CEO. You keep cheating today.
He's the CEO.
Hyphens are there for a reason.
Yeah,
So,
he is. Good point, Dax.
If you're looking to feel the way that we do down there, chillboys.com. It's a Minnesota-based company, but you can find them online at chillboys.com. Judd told us that they're going to be doing some before and after pictures of him at Livia because he's had such a successful weight loss journey the last few months.
Let's just say this.
Are you going to be like a Speedo, or what's going to happen for these photos?
Thank you very much. I'm not sure yet, but let's just say it has not been often in my 52 years on this planet that the words Judd Zolgad and photo shoot side by side. But tomorrow, I've been told that we are going to do a photo shoot involving me. And that is, as Phil just said, because my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers, down 30 plus pounds. And I want to emphasize the words weight control centers. This is not a diet program. This is not you lost the weight, congratulations, now go back to the old lifestyle. This is a program that helps you get the weight off, which they help me do, and then most importantly, folks, keep the weight off. And here's the best part. You get your first 8 weeks right now for free. That's right. First 8 weeks for free, 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia.com, Livia, Livea.com. Photo shoot and Judd Zolgad, boys. That's where we're going right now because I have reached my goal weight at last check, 204 pounds. I started at around 240. Livia.com.
Sexy man. Sexy man.
Well, I don't know about, you don't have to go that far. You don't have to go that far.
All right. What would a trade look like here? So, again,
all right.
Russell Wilson, according to bookies.com, is the odds-on favorite to replace Kirk Cousins if the Vikings move on. Cousins is still the favorite to be the Vikings quarterback, but Russell Wilson is up to a plus 550. So I think step one, you'd need to trade Kirk Cousins to a quarterback-needy team because obviously you're not just going to have them both on the same team. Mm-hmm. So Denver, we've talked about Carolina, Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. Washington needs a quarterback. I'm told by people who know that organization much better than I do that Kirk would probably not sign a long-term extension to be back in Washington. Right. So it's probably a non-starter. But like pick one of these teams and leverage the supply and demand game into a first-round pick and maybe something else. So this is all kind of predicated on there's going to be a bidding war. Aaron Rodgers maybe stays in Green Bay, and there's like 3 or 4 quarterback-needy teams all vying for like Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. And you get a first-round pick, let's say, and maybe like a 4th. I don't know. So is everyone cool with that? So that's step one. You got to move Kirk for assets.
Yes.
We good there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. So step
Very
2
good.
is take the draft capital that you obtained for Cousins and the draft capital you already have and trade to Seattle, who would be going into a rebuild mode for Russell Wilson. It's worth noting that Ian Rappaport from NFL Network reported a couple days ago that Washington offered multiple first-rounders for Russell Wilson, and they were turned away. So who knows? Maybe it's just early in the process. Maybe Seattle wants to get further down the line and get some teams involved. Maybe they're just going to hang on to Russell Wilson, which is probably the likely scenario. But what I would do is say, okay, well, so it's got to be at least multiple first because Washington got turned down. So I'm giving up 2 first-round picks in 2020. So I got one, let's say, from Denver. I got the 9th overall pick or something from Denver. Maybe it was a pick swap and the Vikings kicked back a 3rd or something. But so I'm trading the 9th and the 12th. And I'm trading another first-round pick in 2023 for Russell Wilson. I still have 38 players, not all of them because some of them got cut, but I drafted a bleep ton of players over the past 3 years. I've got Wyatt Davis, who hasn't seen the light of day yet. I've got defensive players. I got a linebacker in the 3rd round. I've got guys who haven't seen the field yet because Mike Zimmer didn't want to play young guys. I've got a 2nd-round pick. I got a 3rd-round pick. I've got some draft picks. So I'm willing to give up. I've got some, and by the way, like there's ways to clear a little bit of free agency money here for this spring too. Like I can sign a guard. So I'm trading 3 first-round picks over the next 2 years for Russell Wilson. Your thoughts?
Okay, it derails my plan though. See that's what I don't like. This all depends on how close you think you are, what he agrees to. Again, if he says, I am going to be, pay me $12 or something, I'll take a 50-year contract and we'll smooth things out. That's somewhat enticing, but my plan is to have as much high draft capital as you possibly can going into 23. Because if the quarterback is as good as the class is being advertised, and I understand that's a big if, so like that's always the question, the if. That's where I would want to, if I need to, move up to actually draft my quarterback. And, with this plan, you'd be committing to Wilson, which I don't have a big problem with, but it also goes against what I truly want in my heart, which is to build this thing. Oh, boy. I don't know, man. I'm going to say no. See you, bye.
Wow. So the next 3, right?
No.
Yeah. Three first-round picks.
2 first-round picks this year, and then a first-round pick in 2023.
So you're gone. So they're all gone.
It wouldn't be the next 3 first-round picks.
So for 2 years.
I would be keeping the 2024 first-round pick. So the next 2 years, you would not have a first-round pick.
I would do that. I would do that because if you plug in Russell Wilson, you're going to have what? You're going to be hopefully a playoff team, right? So you're going to be out. You're going to be.
You'd be I mean, if you don't make the 7 seed, I would say it would be disappointing.
So you'd be out. You'd be most likely outside the top 16 of the draft or so. So I'm okay with not picking there. So yeah, I would be able to do that because if you're going to be competing for Super Bowls, I'm okay with that. So I side with Mackey. I would do that.
If you traded, let's say you traded Kirk to Denver, and that's if Rodgers stays in Green Bay, Denver's the team that makes the most sense. George Payton was obviously in the Vikings front office when they brought him in, right?
Or they might say no because of that, but who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're the most needy team. So you bring in you trade him to Denver, and they have the 9th overall pick in the first round this year. So, and that's hefty. But Denver's roster is pretty ready-made, and Kirk would be an upgrade over Drew Lock and over Teddy Bridgewater. So you would be then, if that trade happened, you'd be trading the 12th and the 9th overall pick, plus your, like Declan said, probably back half of the first-round pick in 2023.
If your
Russ.
defense doesn't,
and maybe
out.
they kick back a third or something, like just to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So you'd have a couple third-round picks here and there that maybe this team would actually play.
Unlike you guys, I trust Kwesi and I trust O'Connell to build this thing and to find their quarterback. It's why they're here. I am sticking with my plan. The days of the desperation, Hail Mary, let's go get Brett Favre, let's go get a veteran guy because we can't find one, are over. I've turned a new page.
Okay, but Brett, hold on. But Brett Favre, first of all, Brett Favre was like 7 years older than Russell Wilson is right now.
Yeah.
Brett Favre brought this team to the doorstep of a Super Bowl. And then, of course, he was the one that then prevented it from happening.
I'm not saying it wasn't fun. I'm telling you, I'm putting my faith in the new administration that's running the Vikings to find a quarterback.
But what if I had told you, because the Brett Favre thing is not apples to apples. If I would have told you in 2002 or 3, when things were starting to get a little bit rocky for the Packers and Favre for the first time, you can get a 33-year-old Brett Favre, and you can have him from 2004 with Randy Moss.
Yep.
In his prime, Justin Jefferson in his prime, and you can have him until he's 40. So you don't just get 1 year of Brett Favre, you get 7 years of Brett Favre, and you get to pair him with one of the best receivers in the NFL.
With the old administration back then, I'm all in. But with this new, with the Kwesi O'Connell, that's what I'm trusting here. I'm trusting that they are going to be really good. That's what I'm trusting. So it's not apples to apples from a standpoint of who's in charge. Back in the Ticey days, yeah, I'm taking Brett Favre in a heartbeat. But now, in fact, I'm the guy who said what? I'm the guy who said, why did you let Rodgers fall past you twice? Greatest fight in the history of the show. The greatest fight. But I am going to put my trust in these guys now that they can find and develop. That the Kirk thing is going to play out. He might be here. He might eat your cap up in 2022. I don't know. But I really believe that the long-term future and health of this team is tied up in the ability of these two guys to do the one thing that Rick Spielman sure as hell couldn't do, and that's to find your quarterback.
Okay. Listen, it's funny because I don't think I would be disappointed in Judd's path either. Like, that's the path that I think
and I'm debating.
Mostly on too.
And
but
Russ
I'm just
is
like,
great.
but on that path, if I see an off lane that involves 33-year-old Russell Wilson for, the next 5 or 6 years, again, it would be if it's Russ on his current contract, I'm not really interested in paying anyone $40 million cap hit at that position, right? Even it's going to be hard with Pat Mahomes at $40 million, Josh Allen.
You are.
But if you can get a longer term on that deal, and that's the thing, like Kirk wants short-term deals.
Yeah.
That allow no flexibility.
I'm not debating
to go
you there.
all in.
Yeah, we're not debating that.
Yeah,
Russ
isn't going to play for nothing, but like Russ is more in the Tom Brady camp of, all right, like my wife's worth, like Ciara's not worth what Giselle's worth, but like Ciara's worth tens of millions of dollars. Russell Wilson's made $200 million in his career playing football. So it's not about milking every last penny out of the negotiation like the current guy.
Is the CEO of Vikings Twitter at some point today going to endorse Russell Wilson as the Vikings' next quarterback?
Well, I mean,
or did he already?
No, well, he is on the show here. Obviously, he is.
No, I know, but are you going to take it to your followers?
The CEO of Vikings
Your
Twitter
people.
retweeted this from bookies.com yesterday with basically one word, interesting, and started a firestorm of debate with just one word being interesting.
That's what, you know what? That's what the CEO does.
Dude, some of the Cousins Crusaders saying, it's not interesting. Guy, come on now. Come on now. If you're dying on the hill, it's Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, you guys. I don't know. It's kind of weird that I don't think he's ever really even, he's never been a finalist for the MVP award. So maybe I'm overinflating him.
Does he want out?
I watch games and see a totally different dude than what the Vikings have been putting out for the last 3-4 years.
Does he want out?
Yes. I mean, I'm not reporting that, but like all indications are.
I mean, I know he did
based
last
on everything
year.
I've heard and read that he does not want to play with that. It's not that he hates Pete Carroll, but that they just don't see the football world
Tired
the same
of each
way.
other, probably.
Yeah,
The Seahawks
and
have no intention of trading Russell Wilson, Phil.
and their offensive line's been garbage. So has the Vikings, but the Vikings' offensive line, I think, is in such a better position now, and with better offensive-minded coaches. And I think Russell looks around and sees, my God, Matt Stafford with a young offensive-minded coach, Tom Brady with an offensive-minded coach. Who's my offensive-minded coach? And Kevin O'Connell's one of them. There's probably 5 or 6 guys out there that really pique his interest. I mean, there's a reason why Sean Payton and the Saints, before Payton retired, were on his list last year, right? He wants to work with an offensive-minded coach that can see the football world the same way he does. Judd sees the world through surly sunglasses. That's really the...
See the
Just a shirt there, yeah.
the hoodie?
Yeah.
Surly Brewing Company. Thank you very much. I'm popping it right now. I'm popping it because I'm cool.
Okay, Sierra.
I'm very cool.
You're so cool.
Yeah, you know what? So on Friday, I believe it was, I went to my local liquor store and I picked up the thing I've been talking about. That's right. The first Surly variety pack of 2022 is here. And I told Dex this too. So Phil, here's the thing. 4 components, right? Furious. It's the bell cow running back. It's the Dalvin Cook. Like, it is solid. It is great. It's a star. It's a star. Havoc Machine. Need I say more? That is your second receiver. Definite threat. Very good. Ghost Empire Dark Lager. I think that's your left tackle. Like, just a solid, that's really good. A Pro Bowler. But then you're saying to yourself, okay, who's your Justin Jefferson? Who's your top flight guy? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's the Hyper Modern Idaho 7 IPA. Ladies and gentlemen, I keep talking about it because it's so good. Furious is near and dear to my heart, and I love it. Hyper Modern Idaho 7 IPA. Oh my God, it's Justin Jefferson. It is out of this world. In fact, if you are fortunate enough to buy this and get one, yeah, that's right. Show me your can or your tap if you have it on tap at JZolgat on Twitter.
Nice. Also, before we get to our mock draft Monday here, post-combine mock drafts coming out left and right. So a lot of you guys probably heard and saw the news about a month ago, just the tragic and senseless killing of 15-year-old Deshaun Hill Jr., who's a standout basketball player, football player at Minneapolis North High School. His family and friends described him as, quote, an amazing son, brother, and friend who touched the lives of everyone he met with his infectious smile and humble personality. Honor roll student. Minneapolis North High School has set up a fund that aims to raise scholarship money for the North class of 2024, which was Deshaun's graduating class. And we want to get behind this at Purple Daily and Score North, Mackey and Judd. So we're trying to raise awareness. We're trying to raise money because, there's really nothing that can be done to make up for what happened. But if there's a chance that we can raise some money and put some kids in a better spot to succeed later in life by getting them a scholarship to go to a college maybe they otherwise wouldn't have been able to go to, then let's do what we can. ScoreNorth.com, keyword Hill. ScoreNorth.com, keyword Hill, if you want to go to the donation page. You can also find it. There's a link on my Twitter account, just twitter.com/Phil Mackey, @Phil Mackey. So you'll be hearing a couple stories on Mackey and Judd throughout the week, too. about the fund and Deshaun Hill Jr., and we just want to do what we can here. So we're getting behind this at Score North and on Purple Daily. Boys,
I want a mock!
it's mock draft season. The combine is over. A lot of big-time bench press reps, a lot of big-time metrics.
Hand sizes.
Hand size controversy.
Kenny Pickett, undrafted now.
Hands.
I've got a post-combine mock draft from CBSSports.com here.
Okay.
And let's start with this. We'll just kind of go through here, get to the Vikings. So the first overall pick, Evan Neal, offensive lineman, Alabama, the tackle, to the Jags. Aiden Hutchinson, staying in his home state, to the Jaguars, edge rusher, Michigan. Aquanu, the offensive lineman from North Carolina State, going to the Texans at 3. Kyle Hamilton, the Notre Dame safety, going to the Jets at 4. I'm going to skip a few here. Kenny Pickett, despite the 8.5-inch tiny hands.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it, whoever the team is.
Going 6th overall to the Carolina Panthers.
Oh. I'd take Malik Willis before I took Kenny Pickett now.
I don't see it for the Panthers. I don't. It just seems like you're firing your coach if you draft a rookie quarterback, but we'll see. Giants taking Kayvon Thibodeau at 7, edge rusher from Oregon.
Okay.
We'll skip to 9 here, where Malik Willis goes to the Denver Broncos.
Uh-oh.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, Ohio State, to the Jets. Desmond Ridder, the third quarterback off the board here, goes to Washington at 11.
Really?
So 3 quarterbacks off the board before the Vikings.
I love this league. Okay.
And that brings us to the 12th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings. And they take a guy who has tumbled here just based on some other mock drafts. LSU cornerback Derek Stingley Jr.
I want a mock!
So he has largely been considered throughout the process, like late in the season, early on in the offseason, as the consensus number 1 cornerback. But according to the write-up here, he has fallen with the likes of Sauce Gardner, Trent McDuffie, and others climbing up. Stingley could still wind up on top of the cornerback heap once all the careers progress, but and recapturing the magic of his freshman campaign at LSU would be a good place to start. So the Vikings would be capitalizing on Stingley's stock falling here to number 12. Thoughts?
Where does Sauce Gardner go in that draft? I didn't hear you read his name off.
I think I skipped him. Yeah, Ahmad Gardner went 8th to the Falcons.
Okay. My thoughts are this. So Stingley is, I think, a really good prospect. It scares me a little bit, not a ton, but he didn't play. I think he got shut down in October of last season because of a Liz Frank fracture, which is a big deal. Like, it takes some time to come back. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to derail his career, but that's definitely part of why he has slid down the draft, because I think that came out at the combine, that it was actually a pretty serious foot problem. This team needs a cornerback. And I'll say this. If they can get a guard in free agency, and I think they're going to pursue guards and corners, but if they can get a guard to take over for Oli Udoh on the right side, and they can sign a decent corner but not a top flight one, I would be on board. As tired as people are from the Zim years of drafting corners, I would be completely on board with taking a cornerback at 12.
Yeah, I think you almost
I have
have
no
to
problem
just
with that.
Mentally separate all of the cornerback draft picks. All of them are sunk costs, both in draft capital and in money.
Hughes is gone. Gladney's gone. That's the unfortunate factor.
Yeah, I mean, even like Mackenzie Alexander was the Vikings' second-round pick and then came back around and signed after he was with the Bengals for a year. So anything that happened before this is a sunk cost. They need cornerbacks. They have one starting cornerback on the roster right now. I do think they find a way to bring Patrick Peterson back, but he's a free agent. He can go sign anywhere, and the Vikings don't have any cap space right now.
Yep.
So they slice and dice that roster.
Drafting one at 12, to me, absolutely fine.
All right, so there it is. Derek Stingley Jr.
I want a mock!
So we're about to be hit with mock drafts all week long, right?
All left and right.
Like, I'd expect a McShay one. I'd expect a Kuiper one.
Coach Shea put him out last week.
Yeah, but it's post-combine. You got to regroup. If you don't do one this week, you're out to me. You're dead to me.
you're fired.
Dad, you're not in the family anymore.
Why would you put one out the week before the combine? I get that it's like, it's
Yeah, that's
combine week.
stupid.
People are excited, but you're just going to change.
But I mean, the combine changes a lot. We all know that, right? The combine changes a lot of thought processes.
I need to see a Kuiper mock. I need to see a make.
Kenny Pickett has the smallest hands since the Burger King dude. Okay, we got to go look at that.
How big were Dante's hands?
Oh.
They're probably 9.
So these are smaller than Dante's hands.
I think Joe Burrow was a 9, and
Yeah.
that was small. 8.5 is off the chart small.
Yeah.
It's a concern. And we can laugh and mock it. I'm sorry. The National Football League football is bigger than the college ball, and the ability to hang on to that prized possession, because the ball is the game, and the game is the ball.
The ball is the program.
Yeah, exactly right. That's all that matters. If you can't hang on to the ball, what use are you, Kenny Pickett?
Well, maybe he needs some insurance, help with the risk management with those tiny hands. I don't know if Federated will help insure his tiny hands, but it's probably worth a phone call. Federated's been helping businesses for over 100 years. They're based in Owatonna. They are one of us, so to speak. And you can find a full list of industries that they protect at federatedinsurance.com, like I said. So MyShield, risk management webinars, safety walkthroughs, legal resources, a dedicated marketing rep that can help you with any issues, all of it available to you. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, so Judd is anti-Russell Wilson. He hates Russell Wilson, thinks he's highly overrated,
Yeah, CEO
and wants the
burning
Vikings to
me.
draft the next Christian Ponder.
You're making me
That's
the
what I
Mike Pence of
gleaned
this
from
show, and it's
episode.
very upsetting.
Mike Pence?
You turned on me.
What? That's a random
What?
reference.
Well, you're in charge, and
you're
I
VP.
was
So
your
you're VP?
I was your VP. Well, I can still be acting. I just haven't signed a long-term extension and accepted it yet. Okay,
I have to run that by the chief of staff. I didn't know you were VP.
oh, you're not the chief of staff. You're
I
the,
didn't say I was. I was saying we have to run that by the chief of staff person.
Who would be our chief of staff? Ross
Yeah.
Brendel?
Who would it be?
Hey, Ross.
Ross
the
can't be. Conflict. He's my agent.
Okay.
I
That's
appointed him
You
on
did.
Saturday. My agent. We're gonna do what's best for Judd. He said.
By the way, also, Eric Eager has joined the
okay.
the
That's a
Vikings Twitter
solid
cabinet.
appointment, CEO.
Yes.
He is the QB Wins ambassador. Eric Eager from Pro Football Focus is the QB
I love
Wins
that.
ambassador.
I hope he's
of-
got a.
I was
Vikings
gunning
Twitter.
for that title.
I hope
but,
he's got a flak
happy Eric
jacket,
got it.
because that's a dangerous position.
It is a stat.
All right, that's a wrap. Purple Daily. What do you guys think? Tell us in the YouTube comment section. Click subscribe and the like button. Russell Wilson? Oh,